On September 10, 2009, in Dallas, Texas, what began as an ordinary morning quickly turned into a nightmare that would echo across true crime history, centered around a 20-year-old art student named Samantha Shelley Nance, a young woman whose talent was as striking as her warmth, a student at the Art Institute of Dallas, known for her emotive sketches, digital designs, and vivid paintings. Someone who didn't just apply colors to a canvas but breathed life into them, raised in a middle-class American household where creativity was her escape, her identity, and her future, described by friends as compassionate, charismatic, quietly ambitious, and socially magnetic, someone who made others feel seen, yet despite her sensitivity, she carried a firm focus for her craft, spending late evenings refining portfolios, attending lectures by day and filling sketchbooks by night, balancing love, friendships, and a growing academic career, but beneath this ordinary surface existed a darker, parallel narrative, involving a young man named Daniel William, her boyfriend's roommate, a 23-year-old with a turbulent inner world, someone whose silence masked volatility, introversion bordering on alienation, and emotional instability that went largely unnoticed. Daniel, who initially came across as an unremarkable college-age man, reserved, self-contained, awkwardly polite, but socially distant, someone who struggled with belonging, plagued by insecurity, emotional dependency, and an increasing fixation on the relationship between Shelley and his roommate, which triggered a slow, internal erosion of rationality, his jealousy not romantic but possessive and territorial, stemming from a belief that Shelley was changing his friend, taking away his identity, time, loyalty, and the companionship Daniel felt entitled to, a resentment that began as irritation, escalated into obsession, then morphed into dehumanization, where every laugh she shared, every late-night conversation she had with his roommate, every piece of attention diverted away from Daniel became another log fueling a fire that burned in silence, unacknowledged by anyone until it exploded in blood. Daniel's mental state worsening in the weeks leading up to the murder, with sleep deprivation, caffeine overconsumption, emotional numbness, and frequent bouts of anger directed at inanimate objects, punching walls in frustration, muttering under his breath, withdrawing further into isolation, spiraling into a cognitive loop where blame crystallized into a single name. Shelley, who had no idea she had become the villain in someone else's fractured story, the crime itself unfolding not in the chaos of a public street but in the deceptive calm of an apartment they all shared. Daniel staying awake through the night before the attack, pacing quietly, thinking loudly in his head, constructing justifications that sounded like logic to him but delusion to the world, eventually arming himself not with a gun, not poison, not manipulation, but a kitchen knife, a large chef blade, chosen not for stealth but availability, tucked under a hoodie, carried with trembling hands powered by adrenaline rather than remorse, entering Shelley's room while she was asleep, illuminated by a soft bedside lamp and surrounded by unfinished sketches, a visual metaphor of halted potential. Daniel attacking her from behind, delivering 42 frenzied stab wounds, targeting her neck and upper torso. Forensic reports later confirming there were no defensive wounds, meaning Shelley never had the chance to wake up into survival mode. Never raised a hand to shield herself, never screamed before the first blow landed, her body absorbing shock before her mind registered danger. Daniel stabbing not in a calculated pattern but emotional automation, overkill driven by rage, obsession, and a dissociative state common in frenzied attacks where emotion initiates the violence but disappears during it, turning the killer into a mechanical instrument executing an emotional directive. The crime scene later described by investigators as a frenzied rage attack, walls spattered with blood, sheets drenched red, silence shattered only after the act was complete, roommates waking to screams not from Shelley but those who found her, 911 called, police arriving, the apartment sealed, evidence collected, Daniel questioned, his statements unraveling under pressure, shifting narratives, claiming memory loss, sleep, hallucinated intruders, but forensic science revealing truth faster than psychology could explain it. Fingerprints on the knife, DNA traces, crime scene reconstruction, timeline mapping, digital evidence, phone pings, and behavioral profiling all converging on Daniel, who displayed emotional detachment rather than panic, a psychological tell often associated with killers who dissociate after the act, law enforcement stating clearly that the motive was jealousy, obsession, and personal resentment, not self-defense, not romance, not financial gain, but emotional entitlement curdled into violence, the legal process. Beginning, Daniel arrested, indicted, brought to trial in Dallas County Court, a jury trial where the prosecution argued that the crime was not one of passion but one of jealousy, the forensic medical examiner presenting testimony detailing the depth, placement, and nature of the wounds, emphasizing that the attack was sudden, violent, and one-sided, the defense attempting to paint Daniel as mentally unstable, emotionally disturbed, cognitively impaired, yet the jury finding that instability explained the brutality but did not excuse the responsibility. Daniel convicted, sentenced to life imprisonment, parole eligibility blocked for at least 30 years, the judge delivering the sentence. Shelley's family reading a victim impact statement describing the depth of their grief. Friends recalling how she brought colors into every room she entered, now those colors replaced by one overwhelming shade of red, the case quickly entering true crime archives as an example of jealousy-driven overkill, a crime where warning signs whispered for weeks but were heard only in hindsight, raising larger questions about mental health, social alienation, emotional entitlement, silent behavioral red flags, and the tragic unpredictability of violence born not from love but loss of.